We are now 2 races into the F1 season, and as expected, the majority of the teams will need some time to get their bearings with the new regulations. Whilst Red Bull did not finish in Bahrain, they have bounced back in Saudi Arabia with a win. But still, the biggest letdown of the major teams was Mclaren, who have still yet to be competitive this season. In this episode of DRS Zone, we'll be looking at McLaren's problems and asking the question, did Lando Norris make the wrong decision staying with McLaren? McLaren would get their first win of impending problems at the first preseason testing in Bahrain, where things would not go as Lando had have wanted, leaving the driver to complete just over 50 laps on the day, and he later revealed that a brake issue was the main culprit for the team's quiet showing during this testing. He said, "I think we just had problems with the brakes today. Simple as that. The exact problem, I'm not too sure, but yes, with these temperatures, they didn't allow us to do long runs. At least. Things we're trying to fix for the next few days. It's not going to be an easy fix, so we'll see what we can do, but everyone's working hard to come up with something." When the opening race came, it was clear that McLaren hadn't managed to solve their braking problem, and team's technical director James Key admitted that the team had been left confused by the problem. Lando Norris finished P15, his lowest place since the 2020 Russian Grand Prix, whilst his teammate Daniel Ricciardo failed to escape Q1 and ended the race narrowly ahead of his teammate in P14. Key explained that the mass overhaul in regulations for the 2022 season had created problems they did not expect, and that they were discovering that things tested in simulations did not always correlate to on-track performance. He's quoted saying, "I think, in a way, it demonstrates how fresh these cars are and how much there still is to learn about how to get them right. I think the brake duct thing was a really strange anomaly in that it passed every criteria we had for cooling, yet didn't work. You think, well, what the hell's going on there? So you research it and you realize there's a certain condition, which was shown by this circuit, where it just sort of switched off basically internally." And as for Lando, he would admit that he was just putting on a brave face as he faced the media after the race in Bahrain, admitting later that it felt worse than it looked from the outside. He would go on to say, "It's just where we are, quite simply. We just have to get a little bit used to it as of now. Of course, over the next few seasons, there's been just a lot of expectation from us within the team, and also everyone else watching us and so on. I'm expecting pain, and I think everyone needs to know there probably will be a bit of pain." This past season, Lando had signed a contract extension with McLaren all the way through the 2025 season, a contract that included a no get-outs clause, as team principal Andreas Seidel would call it for both sides. At the time, it looked like the right move since McLaren was viewed as the best of the rest, being just outside the top 3 battle between Ferrari, Red Bull and Mercedes. That is, until the start of the 2022 season, where McLaren had seriously underperformed, which made people question Lando's extension with McLaren, particularly former F1 driver and champion Jenson Button, who believes that Lando's decision was premature and that Lando may be regretting his decision now. In an interview with Sky Sports F1, Jenson would go on to say, "We all want to be team players, but you never know where the team is going to be in 3 years. And also, this is going to be a big hit. 5 years to go and he's going to be like, oh, okay. But all he can do is to go back to the team, tell them what the issues are and try to resolve them." But things moved fast in Formula 1 as Lando and the team moved up to gear up for this weekend's Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. Lando would see some improvement in the car's performance, finishing P13 at practice 1, then improving to P7 on practice 2, and in Saturday's qualifying session, Lando would finish 11th, with his teammate finishing behind him at P12. Though he would drop a few spots from where he was at practice, Lando reflected on the results saying, "Today was much better, there are more positives to take away since Bahrain, and realistically, we should have been into Q3. There were a few areas where we could have been quicker, which cost us getting into Q3 actually. There was a lot of traffic and people doing warm-up laps, which made it difficult to put a clean lap together, but I also made a mistake. We had a better day today, and I think we can aim for some points tomorrow." And at the race, Lando would stay at the edge of the points for much of it, fighting for P10, but would have luck on his side through a yellow flag caused by his teammate Daniel Ricciardo and Fernando Alonso's car shutting off at lap 38, blocking the pit lane entry. At the time, Lewis Hamilton had yet to pit and only got to do so after the yellow flag was withdrawn, giving Lando and the rest a window to undercut Hamilton, which was very unlucky for Lewis. In the end, Lando would fight with Ocon on the last corner of the last lap of the race, but wouldn't be successful and would end at P7. Team principal Andreas would apologise to Ricciardo after the race, saying, "Without his mechanical failure, we would have had both cars in the points. We'll analyse the exact cause of his DNF when we're home." But is an apology really enough? Sky Sports F1 commentator Martin Brundle believes that McLaren's current woes are costing Daniel precious time in his F1 career. Brundle would go on to say, "It's a difficult time for him. He's been kicked in the guts, hasn't he? Somewhat a few times since coming back from Australia, which is a great shame. Daniel's got the talent and determination, I have no doubt about that. He's got the touch behind the wheel. But you can't outdrive a car if it's not fully competitive. It'll be telling now if he can dig deep and help. He's got to help drive the team forward. That's what he's now here to do. That's why they wanted his speed and experience. He's almost got to put his own career to one side and just drive the team forward and then reap the rewards from there rather than looking inward." McLaren has always been up there fighting with Ferrari for the third place in the Constructors' Championship, but with Ferrari ascending as the early favourites to win, McLaren's problems have been far more magnified, especially given the fans' high expectations for Lando Norris. But it is still a long season ahead, with 20 races yet to happen. So what do you think the future holds for McLaren? And will Lando and Daniel be able to stick it out with the team? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to DRS Zone.